This afternoon, President John Mahama names COP retired Kofi Bawku, Prosper Bani, Charles Kipo, and key national security appointments. We'll give you details of these appointments, which is aimed at strengthening national security.
Also, the Minority Caucus in Parliament is accusing the chair of the Appointments Committee of denying their members the opportunity to properly scrutinize President Mahama's ministerial appointees.
Plus, government can momentarily heave a sigh of relief following a confirmation by WAPCO that it will postpone its scheduled routine maintenance work even further. Those are the top stories. This is NewsCentral. You're welcome. I'm Kamini Amana.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. And we're starting from the camp of the office of the President, John Mahama, because he has made key security appointments to his government. A statement signed by the acting spokesperson to the President, Felix Kwachiofu, said the appointment reflect President Mahama's commitment to enhancing national security and ensuring the safety of citizens. And let's walk you through the names of the individuals as has come through from the office of the President. We have Prosper Douglas Barney, who's the National Security Advisor to the President. We have DCOP Abdul Osman Razak. He's been appointed to the office of the National Security Coordinator. COP Nathan Kofi Bawku retired. It's the Director of Operations at the Presidency to oversee operational effectiveness in security matters. And then there's Charles Kipo as well, the Director General of National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, what you may have known as BNI as well. Let's connect right now, speak to Dr. Victor Dokes, a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, find out what the security sector or institutions and respected individuals are making of these latest appointments as we've got from the President. Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us. These names, as have been announced, what readily jumps to you by the appointments by President Mahama?
Yes, thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you. I think with regards to these appointments, first of all, the President has given an indication that with regards to areas of focus, one specific area for him is the security sector. And that, it means that appointments to those sector, those who are going to head the various security agencies, have to be very experienced. 2, have to be people who are knowledgeable in those areas. 3, have to be people who are willing to contribute to the growth of those institutions. And so far, with regards to some issues he's been dealing with, going to Bawku, appointments, with regards to the security agencies, has been on point with regards to how we see it. Now, coming to individual appointments, Prosper Bani, yes, we know he's been a former Minister of Interior before, so this obviously makes it for the President to put him as a national security advisor, because then with his vast prior knowledge, it is expected that Prosper Bani will deliver. DCOP Abdul Osman Razak, National Security Coordinator, which is very key, right? In the past, I think we've had a mix of civilians, a mix of military, a mix of police being appointed to this key institution. So, National Security Coordinator. Personally, I don't know much about Abdul Osman Razak, but I hope that he is, knowledgeable with regards to internal security issues. By and large, having the security architecture of the country in context and has to be apt with it. COP Nathan Kofi Bawku. Yes, we've known him and his achievements with regards to when he was in Accra, in Kumasi, appointed the Director of Operations at the Presidency. Well, some of us are thinking more he should have been out there, not probably more close to the President. But however, maybe it could happen that in the future he may be, appointed, when I say appointed, it means get a different position as to what he, is having now. Charles Kipo, little is known of him, Director General of NID. And then all these gentlemen. Now, this tells us of the aspect of the President taking his security apparatus and the security sector very seriously. By and large, we hope this gentleman would deliver. Not like we've had in the past where security heads have taken upon themselves and then gone out of the way, out of the books, and taken actions contrary to what the law says. And we hope it's not going to be the position, it's not going to be used for what victimizing the opposition and individuals and citizens, but to what? Work towards the threats that we are facing,
right.
i.e. violence extremism, i.e. internal threats that we are facing.
It's important, Doc, that you mention the threats of terrorism and the likes. We had President Mahama yesterday speak, particularly in Bawku, where he promised these appointments and these individuals prioritizing the conflicts in that part of the country. The names you've seen and then the task at hand, we're yet to see appointments made to the position of Minister of Interior and then Defense as well. But is this a good enough starting place in dealing with some of these problems, one for which he's described as a priority being Bawku? Yes.
Now, this is good for a start. Why do I say so? I'm picking out number one, the position of Prosper Bani to National Security Advisor, and then Abdul Osman Razak as a National Security Coordinator. Now, NID, Charles Kipo, is very essential with relation to the threats, with relation to the Bawku conflict. How do these three heads, or these three key agencies play out in the situation in Bawku? Without intelligence, you can't work. All right? Now, without you having a grasp of the national security space, with regards to operatives, with regards to personnel, and all of those things, you are not able to work or succeed or meet your objectives. National security coordinator is very essential. So all these three positions or key areas are very, very key.
Right.
In a sense that there needs to be a coordination. There needs to be very serious coordination in making the situation of Bawku a priority. Because when you look at the proximity to neighboring country Burkina Faso, the inability to resolve or deal with the crisis in Bawku enables or gives room for armed elements to infiltrate the system.
Right then, Doc.
So this has to be a well thought of appointment that he made, and we hope that these gentlemen would deliver, would add ideas to the existing mechanisms that are there, and then make the issue a priority and address it.
Doc, I appreciate that you could provide these immediate thoughts for us. That's Dr. Victor Doka, is a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Back in the studio, I'm being joined by my colleague, Johnny Hughes. He's going to provide us with a bit more details with regard these personalities and the appointment as has been made by President Mahama. Johnny, thank you very much for joining us in studio as well. 4 individuals. Let's try and get into a bit more details as to who they are and what expertise they are bringing to the new portfolios they are expected to
Bawku, thank you very much. So this is what we know from our security desk. We know that these 4 individuals, as hot as it can be, just today have been appointed. Prosper Bani, Douglas Bani, is the National Security Advisor to the President. Also, you have DCOP Abdul Osman Razak, for a long time was an ACP I'm told he just got his DCOP rank over the weekend. He's the National Security Coordinator. Then you have COP retired Nathan Kofi Bawku, Director of Operations at the Presidency to oversee national effectiveness in security matters. And then Charles Kipo, Director General of the National Intelligence Bureau. We begin with Prosper Douglas Bani. Here's his profile. He's been a BNI officer. Not many people know that, with many years of local and international experience. So he has done a lot of extensive body of work that is referenced very often at the BNI. He's also worked in various positions and handled several specialized portfolios in the area of security and intelligence, security governance and political governance as well. He's been a former chief of staff. He's been a former minister of the interior. His duty primarily will be to advise the president on all things security. So if the president wants to turn left or wants to turn right, he will be there. Mind you that the new administration by John Mahama will not have a national security minister. So these 4 individuals are to coordinate all of the security
essentially
needs.
Seeking to serve that purpose,
so that we don't have a minister. Then we move on to Nathan Kofi Bawku, COP. Very, very popular policeman. Some call him the celebrity policeman. He's a career police officer. Yes, exactly. He's also a lawyer. Not many people know that. He's held various leadership roles in the Ghana Police Service. He's been regional commander for the Ashanti region, Western region, Greater Accra region. He's been at the training school. He's come to do some research at the headquarters, etc. He didn't spend a day more in office. As soon as he turned 60, he decided that he wants to go. He's known for arresting notorious criminals and dangerous ones, Atayi, off the top of your mind, and many others who were for a very long time on the run.
And all of
exactly, but then he's able to get them. His duty is to oversee operational effectiveness in security matters. So a bit of coordination for him so that all of these things are handled properly. And then you have a profile of Charles Kipo. Rightly so, he's a career intelligence officer. So he's not supposed to be in people's faces every now and then. And he has served as the head of surveillance for many years, served under the great Yao Donko, Awilenga, and Nana Tobra Kwetu, who just left office, Kweku. And then he's worked with the Serious Fraud Office, which has now become IOCO, before he joined the BNI. So he has had a stint with chasing people who are wrongdoers. Until his appointment, he also held a position as both the administrator and key strategy and intelligence decision-making icon at the BNI, or the NIB as we call it, and did his very best in that regard. Now, his job, as it is now, if we go back to the earlier slides, his job is the National Security Advisor to the, his job, is the Director General of Operations of the BNI, right?
Now
so he's
NIB.
NIB, so he's supposed to handle that. And then we go to the last but not least. This man has served formerly as the ADC, or the AD-CAM to former President Mahama, now President Mahama. Then when he was Vice President, John Dramani Mahama. He's a lecturer at the KIPTC, and you heard Dr. Docker say that he can talk about his experience and expertise. Career policeman indeed. And you know the police are specialists in internal security. His job is to coordinate security for the entire country and also to ensure a cohesive strategy across all security initiatives. So technically, the IGP and all the others will be answering to him. But I take you back quickly to Nathan Kofi Bawku. Now, his job is supposed to be, he's supposed to be at the presidency, right, in charge of operations. And then he's supposed also to be looking at the national outlook. So that's a very powerful role for Nathan Kofi Bawku, a brilliant lawyer, various positions, he comes to the table with experience, and now he is there as the man in charge of operations at the presidency. So that's literally, these are the four individuals that we have.
Who are expected to man security for the John Mahama administration. Johnny, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
For that's my colleague, Johnny Hughes, with the details with respect to what it is that we're expecting from the individuals as appointed. We've walked you through their profiles, and just one more time again, we'll go through the list for you with respect to who these individuals are, and then what they are expected to do. And so we know there's Prosper Bani, who's expected to be in charge of national security. He's expected to be the National Security Advisor to the President. Then there's DCOP Abdul Osman Razak. He will be the National Security Coordinator. Then there's COP retired Nathan Kofi Bawku, the Director of Operations at the Presidency to oversee operational effectiveness in security matters. And then Charles Kipo is the new Director General of the National Intelligence Bureau, the group you know as the BNI. And that's the latest we've been bringing to you this afternoon.
Now we'll stay with the president because John Dramani Mahama is set to invite the overlord of the Mamprogut traditional area to the seat of government as he prioritizes restoring peace to the Bawku area. The president has also hinted of holding talks with the Asantehene Otumfuose II as a mediator in resolving the age-old conflict. The president made this known when he visited the Naire Na Bohago Abdullahi Mahami Sheriga in his palace as he intensified efforts at solving the crises.
I came here during the campaign to seek the blessings of my father for the elections that were impending. Two of his sons were contesting for the same thing. Whichever of us won it, it's a victory for him. And so as his son, I brought the victory to him. You can count on me. You should know that it's his son who is in the Flagstaff house. And so I want to thank him again. But I know that my father has not been sleeping because of what is happening in Bawku and what is happening in Wale. And so it's giving him sleepless nights. So during the campaign, I made a promise that bringing peace will be one of my major priorities. And so it's exactly 1 week since I was sworn in. And this is my first major assignment out of Accra. It shows how important this matter is to me. And so I just came to appeal to him to exercise restraint and patience, and his subjects to exercise restraint and patience and trust that we'll resolve this matter amicably. I'm in the process of forming my government, and so we're still appointing the ministers. They will come and help me to run the administration. I'm just appealing to my father that they should exercise patience while I set up the government. And so as soon as that is done, we might have to invite my father, but I cannot sit in Accra and invite him. I have to come and alert him in advance that an invitation like that will come. In my last briefing with Nana Akufo-Addo before he left office, he briefed me about some mediation efforts that they were undertaking. I wish to be able to discuss it with him and see how we can continue that effort. I know that he and the late Yegbonra and Otumfuo were the ones who solved the Dagon problem. Nanado gave me a hint that Otumfuo has been playing some role. And so I'm supposed to be with Otumfuo on the 19th of this month. So when I go, it's one of the issues I'll discuss with him. And whatever comes out of it, I will inform my father. So I thank him very much, and I wish him good health. May God continue to give him long life so that he'll stay to look after us.
President John Dramani Mahama there. Now, the minority caucus in Parliament is accusing the chairman of the Appointments Committee of denying their members the opportunity to properly scrutinize the ministers designate during the just-ended ministerial vetting. They are further accusing the Finance Minister, Dr. Cassil Atoforson, of not providing a clear-cut plan for the payment of academic fees for tertiary and senior high school students as captured in the NDC's 2024 manifesto. Let's speak to Judith Brown, who's been following this story. Judith, good afternoon. What else have they been saying?
Right, and so basically, Kevin, they have been accusing the chairman of the party specifically about not allowing them to question the ministerial nominees in detail as they wish to. And so they say that we're being shouted on as members of the committee, and they complain of also not being able to or being given the chance to ask the questions as they wish to ask. They say the CV of these ministerial nominees, being John Jinapor, Cassil Atoforson, as well as the Attorney General designate, were not handed to them ahead of time. And so they were also prevented from examining these CVs in time. So basically, they accuse the chairman of the vetting committee of, being biased, being partisan, being protective of these nominees. So we have a sound of him speaking. Let's take a listen to that.
requesting time to examine every matter in detail. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Members of the committee were not provided with the CVs of the nominees ahead of the voting. When they were eventually sent CVs during the voting, the chairman did not allow for the examination of those CVs as preliminary issues, as had been the practice in the past. The deliberate refusal to provide the CVs of the nominees to committee members in advance, and the refusal to invite questions on the CVs were all calculated attempts to obstruct constructive and effective scrutiny of the nominees. Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the Appointments Committee was the first real obstacle to a diligent vetting of the ministerial nominees. He denied the Ghanaian people and the minority members of the committee the opportunity to conduct a thorough vetting of the nominees. He was protective of the nominees and extremely partisan. Members of the committee were shouted at by the chairman. You all witnessed how the member for Etiwa East, the Honorable Abuna Osei Asari, was shouted at in an attempt to protect the nominees. The chairman denied legitimate members of the committee the opportunity to ask relevant questions and railroaded the nominees through the process. It must be noted that the altercation between our side of the committee and the chairman was a direct protest against his conduct. Under the facade of a lack of capacity, he disregarded the fact that those he bullied were members of parliament.
Dr. Gideon Bawku there, but listen, let's go back to Judith. Judith, you were telling us that they also directly spoke to the finance minister nominee, Dr. Kasala Toforson. What did they say?
And so he was being accused of not being able to answer specifically to issues of the academic fee policy and basically on issues of education. And so basically he was asked about the academic fee policy, and he said that since he is not yet a minister of finance, he cannot answer to whether the pledge for the academic fee policy by the NDC would indeed be implemented. And they had issues with that. He was also accused of not having a proper answer to the issue on the inclusion of private senior high schools into the free senior high school program. They also had issues with what the plan of the minister designate will be for the revenue shortfalls after the scrapping of taxes like the e-levy and the betting tax. And so, I mean, they spoke about him. Let's take a listen to that as well.
The Honorable Dr. Kesian Atuba Forson, who appeared as the finance minister designate, was evasive, inconsistent, and lacked clarity of thought. Having served as a deputy minister of finance and a ranking member of the finance committee, one would have expected his answers to be forthright and to exude concrete solutions. For instance, on the specific matter of whether the government would cater for the first-year tuition fees or academic facility user fees of tertiary students as promised, we found the minister-designate's response highly disappointing. How can a finance minister-designate look into the faces of parents and young Ghanaian students and say that because he's not yet the minister, he cannot answer whether the pledge by President Mahama to pay for their fees will be honored? This is a clear way of telling our tertiary students that the NDC party just deceived them for their votes. When asked about the free senior high school program, and whether it will be extended to private schools as indicated in the NDC manifesto. The minister-designate, in a very dismissive manner, asked whether those private schools write WASSCE, that is the West Africa Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination. First, it was shocking to observe the minister-designate feign ignorance of the fact that there are many private senior high schools that write WASSCE. We can all recall that during the election campaign, President Mahama met the leadership of the private senior high schools and promised to include private schools in the free senior high school program. If President Mahama and the NDC knew that no private senior high school writes WASSCE, why did they promise to include them?
Judith Brown, we'll leave our conversation here. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, on the same story, Overikrom MP is urging the energy minister designate to prioritize keeping the lights on to address sector challenges without excuses. The energy consultant, Michael Kwesi Edu, emphasized the need for decisive leadership, urging the nominee to hold the bull by the horn.
The government has made a lot of promises, and what we expect is that for the energy sector, they keep the lights on, because be as it may, no government has come that they didn't face any debts. The Nana Akufo-Addo government came and he faced some debts, and even in the midst of all those situations with the pay or take agreements that Nana Akufo-Addo inherited, he made sure the lights were on. So I believe this is not the time for excuses. And most importantly, our president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he has been a president before, so he's not new to the job. He's a veteran who has come back. So we believe that he should be able to put things rolling. And I will encourage the new minister to hold the bull by the horns and not bring all these complaints. He should keep the lights on and do what will make Ghanaians happy at the moment. That is what we're expecting of them. That the promises that were made, they will, as soon as possible, effectively roll them out so that Ghanaians will get the benefit of those promises.
And there's a start or the mention of the energy sector already, and so let's get straight into it. And the John Mahama administration has received yet another major reprieve in its quest to deal with the energy crisis it inherited from the previous administration, following the decision by the West African gas pipeline, Bawku, to further postpone its planned maintenance. Concerns of a return to the dark days of load shedding greeted the John Mahama government on its first day in office, prompting an emergency meeting with stakeholders within the power sector. Bawku, after the meeting last Wednesday, agreed to postpone by 2 weeks the planned exercise to allow for fuel to be brought in this morning. Bawku says it will now commence the exercise on February 3 instead of January 20. In a statement, Bawku said the decision is to better accommodate the interests of key stakeholders, and the second phase of the planned maintenance will focus on the offshore section of the West African gas pipeline stretching from Badagry, Lagos State, Nigeria to Takoradi, Western Region, Ghana. And Bawku is required to conduct the inspections every 5 years as part of efforts to maintain the integrity of the pipeline and ensure its continued safe and reliable operation across the West African sub-region. Let's bring in Dr. Yusuf Suleimana right now with respect to what it is that we're learning from Bawku, because we know there's been concerns about what the delay could mean potentially for the integrity of the entire West African pipeline. Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us. A bit of goodwill being extended by Bawku to the John Mahama administration. What would you say? You agree temporary relief whilst the government works in earnest to be able to rectify these challenges of fuel accommodation?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you and to your cherished listeners and viewers. Yeah, indeed, I think that was expected. That was my best bet, and eventually it has, they've risen up with the government of the day. Because if you had looked at, if you had observed the time the current government came into power and the kind of problems that they were coming to meet, it was only logical that the stakeholders, in this case, WAPCO, reason with the government of the day. But that's not to say that such a maintenance is not crucial. If you've understood some of these maintenances, and even this one is one of the largest that I've seen. So it's a planned maintenance. So as to why we have been caught off guard, it is just because we haven't done our homework well. That is why we are struggling like this. What should have been the case with the fact that, we should have alternatives. Unfortunately, this time we don't have alternatives. So what this one directly means is that it's giving government the opportunity to be able to take emergency measures. This time it's what I call, firefighting measures, but they have to take it. And what they need now is to procure, enough liquid fuel in quantities that can last, I would recommend, even up to 3 months. It is expensive, but it is needed at this moment in time. I am not a fan of liquid-based fuel, but at this moment in time, in order for the president to stay put by his promise that he wants to keep the lights on, this is what is going to happen. And also, this maintenance is going to take place, however be the case. And then such maintenance, they may open the pipe, you may not know what could go wrong or what may not go wrong. So for contingency, so that they can plan ahead of time, they may need to procure up to 2 to 3 months of this liquid-based fuel, to be able to serve as buffer. And then we learn our lessons. And what are the lessons? If you observe the gas pool that you have, and if you observe also our generation mix, we all know thermal contributes closer to 60% or more. We also know this thermal is powered by gas. Why do we leave this, this kind of huge power security or energy security, so far as this power sector is concerned, into the hands of external party? In this case, we are solely dependent on West African gas pipeline, when we have every opportunity to have win ourselves off West African gas pipeline, number one, and to have even opportunity to be able to supply a net supplier to West African gas pipeline. So going forward, I think we have to invest robustly and resiliently onto our gas infrastructure. If you do that, and it's not that we don't have the gas, we do have it. We need to just invest to be able to bring the gas from the ground. Jubilee field, we've only extracted 33%, 10 field, only 7%, ENI field, Sankofa field, only 26%. The rest still on the ground, confirmed in place. What we only need is another Ghana gas or a multiple train and interconnection of pipelines. So this kind of investment is needed. Even if you need to borrow to do this kind of investment, we need to do that. And if you do that, I think it's the surest avenue to guarantee us power security so far as this power sector is concerned. Anything short of this, we're going to keep on fighting fire, and I think we may not be lucky the next time round.
Doc, we've seen Energy Minister designate appear before the Appointments Committee, sought to answer questions. These solutions that you're proffering, did you hear suggestions that we will be looking internally towards sourcing our gas and not continue this dependence on WAPCO? Yeah,
I've heard that. Yes, I didn't hear much of Ghana gas, but I'll give them space for that, for the reason that, in fact, they can be credited for Ghana gas. I'm sure maybe a direct question wasn't asked, but I do hear from the minister severally, and even when the president met the IPPs, I heard clearly that they have already talked to, our IOCs, in this case, TALO and ENI, and these are the people who are custodians of the gas. And they are the people who can guarantee us this gas security. Emmanuel, what we need in this case is the midstream infrastructure, just pipelines. That's what we need. And any investor can easily enter into this field. It's not that it's something that you come and you're not going to get the returns. The opportunities are there. Like I mentioned, there's opportunity to even supply into the West African gas pipeline, number one, and an opportunity for even Ghana internally to be able to, to utilize it. So I think they are much aware of these opportunities. We only hope that they live through with the promises that were made. And I trust the energy minister designate in this case, because we've had several interactions and they do know all these things that we're talking about. For us to get this energy security, I think we need to focus on our gas infrastructure. Thirdly, or certainly, just to land on this point, we have to be able to diversify our generation portfolio to encapsulate quite a lot of the renewables, especially in this case, solar. It's a huge bet for us. It's an excellent bet for us. Solar, while we haven't been able to, do the penetration that much that we need, we desire, because we haven't created the required environment. As we speak now, it's only the panels that are given some incentives. If you are able to add the inverters, which are quite expensive to import, and then the batteries, because solar energy is a kind of seasonal, in a way that when the light is not there or when the sun is not there, you will need a kind of storage capability. So if you don't add the batteries and the inverters, we're not going to achieve the kind of penetration that we need. Nuclear is another area that we can venture into. It's another very good area that we've already made some strides. So let's diversify the generation portfolio, not only the conventional hydrocarbon, but on the shortest possible time. I think the conventional hydrocarbon presents a huge opportunity for us to become even a net gas exporter to West African gas pipeline instead of depend on West African gas pipeline.
Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us. Another time, we'll have conversations in relation to the concerns of privatization as raised by members of the Public Utility Workers Union. But that's Dr. Yusuf Suleiman speaking to us this afternoon in relation to the latest from WAPCO. He makes the argument strongly that we have enough gas. There needs to be investment within that sector to allow us to become net exporters of gas as well and contribute to the West African gas pipeline. That will take us on to our very first break here on NewsCentral. When we return, a bit more stories for you if you stay with us.
Let's take you across the regions now. A lack of access routes and space in the various markets in the Greater Tamale metropolis due to congestion has been identified as one of the major factors affecting the timely response of the Ghana National Fire Service in dealing with market fires. According to the service, assemblies should ensure proper layouts at the various markets to make them accessible in cases of fire outbreaks. The timber market in Tamale caught fire in the late hours of Monday, January 6, destroying properties worth millions of Ghana cedis. Christopher Marco has been following up on this story with authorities at the Northern Regional Command of the Ghana National Fire Service on how preparedness of the service in cases of fire outbreaks in the region could forestall situations as we saw at the Tamale market. He joins us for a bit more on this story. Chris, what did you find out?
Yeah, so, Kamini, having visited the central business town of Tamale, where the biggest market in the Greater Tamale metropolis is located, I can tell that the place is so congested that in the unlikely event that there is any fire outbreak at the central business market, it will be very difficult for the personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service to access the place. Even though at the Abu market, the situation looks a bit different, but people are beginning to put up some structures at the market, which will also be a danger for fire service officers in case of any fire outbreak. Remember, already we have a fire outbreak in the Greater Tamale metropolis. That is the Abu timber market, where some shops were burnt to ashes and millions of cedis lost in that fire. Let's take a listen to what the fire service has been telling us.
The other issue of concern to me and the fire service is access into this our marketplace. Sometimes we get there to extinguish fire, then getting access to the fire becomes a problem. There's so any access route. Every space in the market is being occupied by an obstacle, either a market store or any other obstacle that may impede our movement. We need to be careful. The spaces or the layouts in the market is for a purpose. You never can disregard emergency. It will come when it will come. Please, we need to adhere to all these safety measures so that together we can prevent our markets from the ravages of fire.
Chris, let's talk about the markets now. The fire service is calling for a proper layout. How congested are these markets? What do they look like?
Yes, Kemini, they are very congested because, like I said earlier, you go to some of the markets, especially the main market around the taxi rank enclave. It is very difficult for you to access any part of the market should there be any unfortunate incident. Even smaller cars are unable to access the place. And you know that this is the season where most fires are recorded. The city authorities have over the years tried to ensure that they bring some sanity at the market. But, you know, sometimes it takes a political turn because once these people complain to the party in government, it becomes very difficult for them to relocate them or for them to decongest the market. The city authorities have created a different space, market space for market activities to take place. But unfortunately, people are not moving to that space because they feel the place is very far from the central business town. And so more and more people keep going to the central business town to get sheds or stalls in place for them to also transact their businesses. So it's a very difficult situation. Very
well, Christopher. We'll end our conversation here. Thank you so much. Christopher Mwako is our Northern Region correspondent.
Staying on the subject of fires, because the Eastern Regional Fire Commander, ACFO Timothy Osafo-Efum, has expressed concerns that the inconsistent water supply due to low production from the Ghana Water Company could hinder firefighting efforts. Despite this challenge, he's assured the public that his team are strategically positioned to prevent and respond to potential fire incident in the eastern region. My colleague Yvonne Nikwe has been engaging him. Yvonne is joining us right now. I get the indication. Yvonne has been engaging him. Let's take a listen to what he's been telling my colleague.
The last major fire incident recorded in the eastern region was in 2021 in the Achim Odan area in the Brem Central municipality. Beyond that year, no major fire incident has been recorded in the eastern region. Eastern Regional Fire Commander ACFO Timothy Osafo Efum says patrol teams in task force have been positioned in strategic markets to ensure fire incident is not recorded.
Late last year, we experienced one in Suhum market. Fortunately, we were able to deal with it quickly because it was detected early, on time. So we were able to deal with it. But going forward, a lot of measures have been put in place. This include market patrols and a task force that is specifically earmarked to cater for the markets. Aside that, we have mapped up strategies for all the major markets in the region. We have the regional capital here in Koforidua. We have a Samankasi, we have Odan. And so these markets are being taken care of. Fortunately, we don't have a problem when it comes to fire tenders in two of these areas. The only place we have a problem is Asamankasi, where the fire tender is down. But every effort is being made to ensure that it comes into commission within the shortest possible time. So for Suhum, we are covered in Odan and in Koforidua as well. Right, so when it comes to hydrant situation, I'm not even enthused about having a lot of hydrants when you don't have water flowing through them. Then it is better you don't even have them at all. What is important is that strategies are mapped up so that anytime there are major incidents, we're able to get water to do our job. You are aware of the water situation in this country, where even as a result of Galamsey, Ghana Water is not able to produce water in certain areas.
Farmers in the northern parts of Ghana who suffered the impact of prolonged dry spells are now struggling to make ends meet, some of whom have huge debts to pay. Previous Minister for Agriculture, Brian Echampon, and the NADO-led government didn't provide promised relief packages to these farmers. Upper West correspondent Ibrahim Wangara spent time with some of these farmers and has come through with this report.
In August 2024, the government of Ghana announced measures to support farmers affected by the 2024 dry spell through food grant and financial support. Minister for Food and Agriculture Brian Echampon stated that 800,000 farmers would receive 25 kilograms of rice and 100 kilograms of maize, while an online grain market was to be set up to allow the public to purchase maize and rice at affordable prices. The government also allocated 8 billion Ghana cedis to provide relief and mitigative measures for affected farmers.
Government will also bring in 300,000 metric tons of maize and 150,000 metric tons of rice to provide food support to vulnerable farmers who have lost their crop and also for the market. Government has decided to provide financial support amounting to 1,000 Ghana cedis per hectare to the most vulnerable among these farmers as partial cover for their investment.
Despite the minister's announcement 4 months ago, affected farmers in the Upper West, Upper East, and Bono East regions are yet to receive any support. This has left many of the affected farmers disappointed after investing heavily in fertilizers and farm inputs. 50-year-old Ishmael Abdelmanaf, who cultivated 350 acres of maize in the Wa East Enclave and was badly hit by the dry spell.
My farm was one of the most hardest hits, and the story was aired. Immediately the story was aired by you, the TV3. Up till now, we've not been able to even get anything from anywhere. District Mufa director was at the farm, followed by the regional director, and some number of officers came in several times to do that they want to take coordinate and what have you, and everything was done. I think that the promise was like a deceive and leave. They just deceived us and left the whole thing. If the government have taken the money, I think the green minister should be questioned for that, because the money, I believe, is still with them. It has not been given to anybody, as I'm told.
Nubania Lukma is another affected farmer.
We farm about over 250 acres, and people who went to my farm to expect how the drought affected me. Till now, they haven't given me anything. Actually, we are expecting the new elected government to also look into the matters and see if really they have taken the money to help us. They should follow through so that the money will reach us.
It is against this backdrop that the environment report is equally adding up their voices to the farmers, demanding the NDC government investigate this matter urgently and ensure that affected farmers receive the compensation they deserve. Ibrahim Wangara, TV3 News, Upper West Region.
Staying still on the regions and on rains, because a drastic decline in rainfall patterns caused largely by climate change is having a devastating impact on rice cultivation across most parts in the Volta region. In this report, my colleague Faisal Abdul-Idrisu will take you to the South Tone district of the Volta region, where thousands of hectares of rice farms have withered as a result of a lack of rain in the last few months, resulting in huge investment losses for the farmers.
Rice cultivation in the Volta region starts from March to August for the major season, running from September to December for the minor season. Like other crop farmers across the country, rice farmers depend religiously on rainfall all season, but unpredictable weather conditions, characterized with prolonged dry spell in recent months, have become a major concern to farmers. In the South Tong district, for instance, hectares of rice fields have dried up due to the lack of rainfall since the start of the minor season.
The rice germinated, and along the way, the rain has stopped. And as you can see now, even the grain to sow for the next season, I cannot even get it. Over 150 acres is gone. 45 acres. We
were hoping to start the season in September, but the rains came late, so we started in October. But the rain stopped again. The once lush rice fields now lie barren and parched, with wilted and withered plants thrusting loosely into the dry, cracked earth, resulting in irredeemable losses for the farmers.
I invested 25,000 into the farming, and then the expectation is to get 200,000 Ghana cedis as at the end of the season. But the rain failed us. I'm losing everything for the season.
We took loan, bought fertilizer, invested a lot of money into getting the land ready, but we can't recoup anything. If any help can come our way, we'll be grateful. In 2022, rice production in the region, according to figures by the Ghana Statistical Services, stood at 1,283,261.311 metric tons, showing a rise from the 2021 figure, which stood at 1,143,265.289 metric tons. But the season's poor yields will have a telling effect on production.
We had so far is maybe up to 500 metric tons. It has reduced drastically, and we don't have the goods to mill, and the market women are running around, but we don't have the products to supply them. All due to what? The drought. It's very serious and it's severe. We need to take a drastic action to reduce this issue of drought in the country.
The ongoing dry spell across the country is not only affecting rice cultivation, but to a large extent, crop and food production, posing a threat to food security and also burdening consumers with high prices, particularly for food products from the farms. Farmers here are appealing to government to provide them with sustainable irrigational schemes that will provide water to the farms year in, year out. Faisal Abdul-Idrisu, TV3.
And On that note, we'll bring an end to Regional Hub. We'll take a short break as well. We'll return to take the bulletin home.
Now, residents of Ablekuma North constituency are still without a legislator more than a month after the 2024 elections. Some of them say it will be in the interest of the Electoral Commission to rerun that election. Christabel Success Trevor has the rest of the story.
The Electoral Commission has on more than 5 occasions failed to complete the collation process. This is despite a court order.
Both the MPP and the NDC have both declared victory for their parliamentary candidates in the Ablekuma North constituency. It has also left this constituency without a representation in the 9th Parliament, which has already commenced. Today, we'll hear from the Ablekuma North residents their thoughts on this ongoing controversy and the ongoing stalemates.
As the president said in his first 120 days, a lot of things will commence. So what will happen to Ablekuma North if by then nothing happens? So we plead with the EC, they should do their possible best to make sure Ablekuma North has a representative in Parliament to prevent any further chaos.
When you look at who has won, just give it to her. This person says I've won, the other also says I've won. When it brings chaos, it's not going to take us anywhere.
Those in parliament are there, but we, the NDC, have more in parliament, and we are still in power. So whatever they say, we are still in power.
The ongoing stalemate has undoubtedly left a mark on the Ablekuma North constituency. The big question remains, when will the Ablekuma North constituency get the representation that they truly deserve? Christabel Success Trevor, reporting for TV3 News, Ablekuma North.
Well, there. Hopefully there'll be news about that soon.
With the returning officer abandoning the job, I doubt there will be news. But the Electoral Commission has to provide some form of update with respect to what's happening there. And hopefully they do that soon enough.
Absolutely.
It's our bulletin. for
Time for us to go.
Yeah, I am Marina Egbeka.
And I am Kamini Aman. All the afternoon shows next. Bye-bye.